Okay, I think we're going to get started. I think people are probably going to filter in here pretty soon. My name is Andrea Fuentes, and I work for LA Opera Connects. It's the community engagement and learning office at LA Opera. And today we are very excited to talk about Billy Budd, which right now is a stream at laopera.org. I think it was a 2016 production, but our friends are going to tell you. And today we're joined by some of the folks that were in the production. We also have some very fabulous guests here. We have Susana Guzman and we have Azra, who is going to tell us about what it's like to be a lighting designer and what it's like to create these scenes that we see. And so I'm going to throw it over to them. If you have questions at any time, if things come up, please feel free to put your questions in the chat or to use the Q&A feature. And if anything comes up, I'm here. You can always use the chat to address us in however you want your questions answered. So Susana, welcome. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm so happy, Andrea. Thank you so much for having us here. And I'm so honored to be a part of this amazing panel with my good friends, my old friends, and new people who I'm discovering. In Billy Budd, there's no mezzo-soprano part, which is my voice type. So I'm going to ask our guests if I could have the singers first, starting with Abdiel. Could you introduce yourself? Tell our listeners what your voice type is and what you did in Billy Budd.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abdiel Gonzalez. I am a baritone. And for Billy Budd, I was a chorister. But I mean, in college, studying opera, I sang all the Billy Budd arias. So I know that part so well. It's one of my bucket list roles that I want to do before I die.
I can't wait. We're going to be in the audience when you do that. Todd, how about you? What did you do in Billy Budd?
I was also a chorister. My name is Todd Strange. I sing with the chorus at LA Opera. It was actually, so I sang, I had one, as I say, there are a lot of one-liners, so to speak, in Billy Budd, where everybody gets to play and have a good time and get their voice heard a lot of times. So I was honored to be have a titled character, which was the hurt soldier or the hurt. Yeah. So I was the hurt guy. And so I just sang, "I'm sorry, sir, hurt me arm." And that was it, and then a lot of chorus music, which is incredible. And it was the first time I got to hear Patrick on stage. And I just remember being in awe of all, I'm happy to call these people friend and colleague now, but I was just like, I was so in awe of everybody and so in admiration of everyone's incredible talent, and being able to assemble a piece like Billy Budd, Benjamin Britten at the height of his composing some of the most complex but beautiful, most beautiful music ever written, and so effective on how it's set to what's happening on stage, and how things like what Azra does, with the lighting and with the set design and all that thing, how it really is all the parts coming together and making something incredible, like just unbelievable on stage for the eyes, for the ears, for the soul. It hits all the cylinders.
Todd, you are so right. Billy Budd is a story that we don't really hear every day on the opera stage because it's about a ship, and it's about sailors on a ship, and it's about the life of sailors on a ship, and in particular about a young, naive boy named Billy Budd. Patrick, can you tell us what you do and what you did on stage in this production?
Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Blackwell. I'm a bass baritone, and I was proud to make my debut as Lieutenant Ratcliffe in Billy Budd on the Indomitable. And what a thrill it was to work with such amazing artists, a fabulous set, and to join the company at Los Angeles Opera. And I do sing opera for a living. I've been fortunate to be able to travel the world and sing with your two fine artists, Todd and Abdiel, on a regular basis. And this is what I truly, truly love. This is my passion. The story of Billy Budd is, of course, just amazing, based on Herman Melville's stories. And what a thrill to be able to see this great story unfold through the words of Captain Vere and, of course, the evil John Claggart, who hates Billy with satanic intensity, and to see this story between the French and the English, it was just fascinating. I have to say, it was a thrill.
I have a quick question. Was this
Sure.
a production that included Rod Gilfrey or Greg Federley?
This Greg Federley was in the production. Our Billy Budd was actually
Liam Bonner.
yes, Liam Bonner. Thank you very much. Liam Bonner was our Billy. Yes, he was. And yeah.
I just have to tell you, Greg Federley and I hold the record for the most performance by a principal artist with Los Angeles Opera.
Ah, fantastic.
It's not that close. I'm at like 400, but
okay.
Greg Federley is like at 1200.
Ah, wow.
We both started at the same time. I'm so proud of him. And he sings frequently at the Met now, of course.
Yes.
And all three of you have mentioned what an amazing thing it is to be able to stand on a ship that's on a stage and immerse yourself in the character. And our other guest today is Azra. Azra, could you describe, I know that you are a double threat, not only set design, but costumer as well. Tell us about that. That is so fascinating.
Sorry, lighting design.
That's what I meant. I meant lighting and costume though, right? Didn't you do costumes at one point?
I started as a costume designer.
I read that.
And then when I went to grad school, I switched to lighting and just have been doing lighting ever since, pretty much. But I still, what?
All over. You're originally from Montreal?
Yeah, I'm originally from Montreal. And I did costume design there primarily. I didn't do any lighting design there. And then I came out here to go to grad school at Cal State Long Beach, and became a lighting designer. And when I graduated, I got an internship at LA Opera. As an intern there, I transitioned to the assistant lighting designer and have been there ever since the last 8 years or so.
That's amazing. And I am sure that having the costume information in your belt, which is why it stuck with me, it informs the way that you light.
Yeah, I'm very happy I have that knowledge. And it's very rare to have somebody do those two areas. Usually it's set in costume or set in lighting. It's very rare that it's costume and lighting. But I think it helps me understand how the costumes will react to the lights, and that will make everybody happier.
Oh, that's so nice. Everybody that we've seen so far are the hands on the show, and I'm going to get back and ask you a little bit more detail about how you got started and did you sing in your high school musical. But I'd first like to pull out of the darkness Mr. Adam LeBeau. Adam, hey there.
Hello, everybody.
Adam works for Los Angeles Opera, but he's not on the stage. Adam, could you tell our listeners and viewers, what do you do at Los Angeles with your fiddly fig plant behind you that's so gorgeous?
Well, thank you. The creator of my Zoom background would be very pleased, whoever that designer is, in the world of crafts people and artisans. My name is Adam LeBeau, and I'm the Community Engagement Program Coordinator for LA Opera Connects. And Connects is our community engagement and learning division of LA Opera. So we do all kinds of programs for the community at large, for students, for teachers, with institutional partners, with healthcare organizations. And I would say that overall, our mission is to help promote and advance opera while continuing to build cultural equity and diversity in what we do, and embodying the diversity and the spirit of our communities in Los Angeles. So basically, we tell stories, and we help to tell those stories in any and all formats that we can. I personally, sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I was just going to say Los Angeles is so lucky to have you. I recently served on the National Endowment for the Arts, and I was so proud of everything that LA Opera Connects does, because you're involved with serving hospitals and high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. You have the Zarzuela project, so you also work on all of our different communities around Los Angeles. Are you involved with all of those things?
We have a wonderful team, and I think it is very much an all hands on deck department, and we do so much. I'm fortunate enough to be involved in a fair bit of it. And so I consider myself very fortunate in that regard. And on a personal note, I do have a background in classical singing myself. So, I mean, I'm certainly partial to to the work that we all do, and it's great to sort of be on this side of the equation, helping to bring this art form, to share all the stories that we tell.
Adam, I've heard you. You're a really fantastic tenor.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I do. It's high praise coming from the folks on the screen. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. And Andrea, you look so still there.
I've got this new thing where whatever I'm wearing for the day, I just take a picture of that and then I'm always there.
Well, it's perfect then that you're our coordinator. That is so smart. Tell us how you're involved. What is your role in making LA Opera work?
Yeah, so I work in the Connects office, and so we're the community engagement and learning office. And I think we have something like 30-ish programs, depending on how you define a program. Some of them are much smaller than others. So we have some programs that serve very small groups, like our premier teachers, who are our teachers that are involved, who have done various things involved with our programming. And there might be 5 people. And then we have huge programs like the program that Adam runs, which is our community opera, which is where we have something like 500 people involved and 20 or 30 partners involved. So we really run the gamut in terms of the size of the programming. Overall, we do something like 150,000 people served per year, which is a little bit more than our main stage productions, which I think serve about 130,000. So we're really, really happy to be able to serve all of those people through these programs. My boss, Stacy, who many of us know, she'll say something like, we haven't finished until we have served all 10 million people in LA County. So my role is primarily the school partnerships. And so that's partly why I'm involved here, because we're going to make this available to our students and our teacher communities. And we really appreciate your help in talking to the students. One of the things we're really interested in is what it looks like to be an artist. So, we can have all of our connections that's in our name to the main stage productions and what we do, but like, how do you get there? And, if I don't know about art, how do I know more about art? And so I think if I had to, now that I've spoken a whole bunch, I think if I had to sort of put it in a sentence, really increasing access to the arts and knowledge about the arts, that is where our programming comes from.
That is wonderful. I'm going to put you on the spot. By the end of this, could you tell our students where they can go if they want to be involved in actually being in an opera?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a bunch of things coming up. So thank you for mentioning that.
Really? Oh, great. Abdiel.
I also want to congratulate LA Opera Connects, because at the time that we were doing Billy Budd was the 100-year birthday of Benjamin Britten. So LA Opera Connects did, I don't even know how many things. They set up art galleries. They did concerts with community people, schools. So all over LA, people were performing Britten, seeing artwork that was inspired by Britten. And I mean, I don't even know how much work went into all that, but it was amazing. So bravi.
So wonderful.
Bravi tutti.
I'm going to end up in a minute asking Azra to tell us a little bit how she comes up with the design, but I'll let Andrea get some slides ready. But first, I'd like to ask Patrick. Patrick,
Yes.
How did you discover this voice was the perfect thing for opera? How did you start your world?
Well, it all for me happened in junior high school, singing on various assemblies. And the first song that I sang was America the Beautiful, which of course segued into the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. And that's when my voice, I was about 13, my voice changed. And I knew that opera was something that I loved. It was an enigma to me. I knew nothing.
Come back there.
By the way, I'm getting some interruptions here. Can you hear me okay?
You're good now.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So, and then of course, went to an arts high school, and that ended up taking me to Juilliard. And that's how I knew that this is what I really, truly wanted to do. So,
Patrick, did you go to LaGuardia?
I did not. I actually went to, I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, High School of the Arts in Washington, and then went to Juilliard. Yes.
Were you in Denise's class at Duke Ellington?
I was not. She was a little before me, not very much, but a few years.
One of the former principals of Duke Ellington, Mitzi Lizarraga, is an old friend of mine.
Wonderful.
We have a girl at Loxa right now who went to Duke Ellington. It's such a good school.
It is. It really is. Had an opportunity to get some very good foundational training there, which is what I needed. Of course, not knowing all of the rudiments and all the fundamentals of what being a classical musician was all about. That was a good foundation. And then, of course, well, Juilliard, what can I say? That was what we call the West Point of music. That's where you sink or swim.
Oh, how wonderful. And you are a full-time professional opera singer.
For the most part, yes.
Has it taken you around the world?
Uh,
Don't freeze. Come back. Oh, Patrick, I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, you said yes.
Yes, it has indeed. It's taken me around the world. One of my favorite opera companies was in recent years was in the 2018 production of some Kurt Weill, The Seven Deadly Sins, which was at the Opéra du Rhin in Strasbourg, France. And that was a great opportunity to be over there and get a chance to see how the Europeans do things. And yeah, so that's just one example of the places having performed. This business is so unique and in so many wonderful ways. You get to meet so many great people, work with great directors and conductors. And of course, needless to say, at Los Angeles Opera, what a thrill it is every time to be in any production there, working with Maestro Conlon and the staff. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. We're so happy that you were here. I'd like to switch up now to Azra. Gents, I'm going to ask you guys the same question and also about working in the city in COVID. But first, I want to go to Azra and let us see some of those beautiful slides. If we could share our screen, and if you could tell us a little bit about this is what you do. Now, when we say, look at this gentleman,
Wow.
I don't know if you can see the guy in red. He is in his light, and that's what you do. He has
Fantastic.
You either found
Actually,
him.
that was part of the Britain 100, the guy in red. Oh, the website's glitchy. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. Look at these. Tell us, what does a lighting designer do? I know the director tells the artist what to do, and the creative team works on sound and set design. How does lighting bring it all so gorgeously to focus? Oh, look at Leonard.
Yeah, I think we're kind of brought in at the end to sort of bring everything together, I guess, is what ends up happening. But I like to think of myself as like painting the stage with light, drawing focus to the places that need to draw focus to narratively, but also emotionally and psychologically. I like to try to design to the characters and what's going on with them. Of course, with opera, you have the extra layer of music.
Look at that. Stunning. I mean, there's moonlight on the stage. You've created moonlight on their faces. Look at that. Look at that. So gorgeous. I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that's at the USC Opera Department. I used to design there sometimes.
Just stunning. Oh my goodness, look at, ooh. Is there a difference when you're doing musical theater or when you're doing dance? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think with dance, it's really about seeing the shapes of the bodies, and you want to make that more of your focus. When you're like doing opera and musicals, like you really want to go with the music, and ideally they're well written so that the music is reflecting what the story is about, what the emotional state of the characters are. So then you just kind of can follow the music and it works out. Timing, of course, is really, really important when you're working with music. Theater, usually you end up having to do a lot more realism, but in opera, you get to have a lot more fun with all these more expressionistic styles that you get to play with. It's really great.
Now, I see in this particular work that you're doing with the breast of Theresia, I see that you have a screen behind you. Have you found that projections are becoming more and more an influence on the work that you personally do?
I don't know that I wouldn't say that it influences my work, but I definitely have to learn to work with it so that I don't ruin it by washing it out. But I think like I've done it enough times now that it usually works out really nicely. You can complement each other really nicely as long as you communicate with your fellow designers. It goes really well.
What was that? Oh, that's the magic flute.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, is that beautiful? Look at Thornton. They do beautiful work at USC. That's so lovely. Thank you so much, Andrea. That is lovely. Oh my gosh, look at those three ladies. So for Abdiel and Todd, you both are amazing working artists. And for our students, you will never guess the things that these guys have been on. Besides Frozen, you're on the soundtrack of Frozen, on the Last Jedi. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us, Abdiel, first, tell us, how did you both have exquisite voices. How did you decide that you were going to go the broader path, which would include film, television, studio recording, the LA Master Chorale? You've expanded it. And how did that happen? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, not by choice at all, for me at least, because I went to college and I trained to be an opera singer. I love opera so much. And basically, I got into Music Academy of the West, and I did that for one summer. And then during that summer is when I found out that I had gotten into the LA Master Chorale. And at that time, I was like, choirs, they're horrible. I hate it. But being in the LA Master Chorale just broadened my horizons. Because, I was used to solos by Mozart, Fauré, all these beautiful composers. And then the first solo that I ever did at the Master Chorale was by James Newton. No. It was by, what's the one we just did, Todd?
Chinnery Ung.
Chinnery Ung. And it was the craziest thing I'd ever sung. I was sweating up on stage so much. But I mean, just forcing me, if I'm trying to recreate something, it's like, and then it was unlike anything I'd ever sung. And I just dove into it head first. I guess I did a good job because people took notice, and people from the movie industry found out about me, and I was able to start getting work in movies and TV. And yeah, basically it taught me how to be super versatile, because what I thought, I'm an opera singer, that's what I do. But being forced to do all this other work just broadened my horizons, like you said. And it opens up the world for you like you have no idea. So don't think you're only good at one thing, because if you actually believe you can do anything as long as you commit to it.
And you could still sing Non più andrai if you want to.
Of course, easily.
Todd, how about you? A similar path? Did you start the same way, that you were up there to sing your wonderful whatever Handel, the Mozart pieces, and then shakunk?
It was weird. Yeah. I entered in trying to be the world's next Pavarotti, like a lot of tenors do. And I was thinking I was pretty much there, because I think I did 10 or 11 leading roles with my schools and things like that, all in original language with, full orchestra, and was doing principal roles even at B House with Arizona Opera, like small principals, comprimario work, things like that. So I was sort of doing things out of order because I hadn't even done a young artist program. I just happened to get employed and things like that. So I really thought I would just be doing opera. When I started the YAP path, the young artist path, I was doing 2 years at San Diego Opera after grad school, and then basically did 3 years at Ohio Light Opera. I did about 11 leading roles there. I did roles at Utah Festival Opera. So I was building my resume pretty steadily, and I remember getting a call to do opera chorus while I was in residence in Ohio that summer. And I had auditioned and I don't think I'd gotten a call. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then, the same with Abdiel. It's like, if you've positioned yourself to find your light and be the guy on stage, getting an opera chorus call, no matter how highbrow the gig might be, like at the amazing LA Opera Company, in your mind and your ego, you're kind of like, well, However, I will say I took the contract upon surrounding myself with these amazing voices, amazing artists. There was a bit of, I will say there's a bit of humble pie that I ate and realized how many amazing singers there are out there. And also realizing that I got my degree in music and that I wanted to make my living in music. So part of it was somewhat pragmatic on the choice to stay here and I love my life here. I love Los Angeles. I love this vibe. And so just really, really leaning into that rather than resisting and leaning into that, still doing plenty of solo work, but then also what Abdiel said, broadening the horizons, being more of a hybrid car than just a muscle car on one path. Being able to kind of like get more bang for the buck and look at different sides of, because I started in musical theater. So like legit musical theater, and kind of resisted opera for a while until I heard Nessun Dorma and was like, I was hooked, So I was like, all right, I'm there. I want to do that. But, Three Tenors was coming up when I came up, through the late 80s, early 90s, all that stuff. So it was really popular at the time, and I wanted to be a part of that. And this allowed me to stay a part of that, to witness the best singers in the world coming through there, like Patrick, like others that we've seen on stage, and to learn from them just by watching and seeing what it really is like to be in an A house stage. I've been on a B house stage. I'd done it. It was a little bit more, this is at a different level. And so seeing that, hearing that, experiencing that, even from an ensemble standpoint, was a huge learning experience. And then also what Abdiel said, getting involved with a master chorale eventually, and hearing what kind of magic comes out of ensemble work like that inspired me in a way that I'd never been inspired. And so I knew there was something to it. I knew there was something to follow there. So I pursued it. I did change my technique and my approach slightly, which probably needed to be changed honestly anyway, because I'm a pusher. So I was pushing my way right through all that rep, and I needed to figure out a different approach anyway. So it was good. It was good for me to adopt those things. And then being a part of this chorale with these amazing singers, this wonderful singer community that we have here in Los Angeles, eventually, like Abdiel, getting noticed by some of the contractors that hire for movies, things like that, being so, blessed to even be in the room with some of these people and be with these amazing composers that write for films on the highest level. The learning curve is huge, and it's also amazing. And I can't say enough about what I've learned as a musician, as being a good vocal musician, not just a singer, but now I feel confident in taking a piece of music and putting it to music almost right away. And that,
so amazing.
That is really, yeah. I mean, so it's, of course you're going to have, I don't say I would have regrets for not just solely following the operatic path, but I'm so delighted at where I ended up. And a good friend once told me, he said, Todd, listen, because I was really discouraged one day about it, and I was like, I'm not a lead. I'm not the guy. I'm not the quarterback of the cast, whatever. And I was used to being that, let's be honest. Let's be clear about what we all wanted to do with our lives. And he said it the best. He said, Todd, you got your degree in music. You're making your living as a musician. You're making your living as a working singer in a major town with major artists, and you're getting hired and hired again. What more could you ask for? And that's sort of just, okay, you're right. I just will be diligent. I'll keep being thankful for every gig that I get and keep working toward the things that I want to achieve and be thankful for the things that I have achieved. So I'm really grateful to be here. I think it's a wonderful community. And like with Connects, I mean, you guys have been killing it during pandemic. That's been a whole nother story that we can talk about, how artists and singers have survived during pandemic, but that's
coming up next. As a matter of fact,
I'll let you segue. Go ahead.
You actually said something I think that is really important. There is a place in the world, and to our students, there's a place in the world for your voice. It doesn't matter if you're the first person on stage that everybody hears sing, if you're singing from a pew in church with your choir, if you're singing in the shower, in your car with the radio. There is a place in the world for every single person's voice. Many of us have parallel careers, so I'm really blessed as I segue off of main stage performances that I have a radio show that you all are invited to join me on. But what's so cool about radio is COVID did not affect us. We kept on going. So having a parallel career was really blessed for me being here in Los Angeles with my family. Patrick, where I'd like to know all the way around the screens, where did you hunker down? And I know that for most singers, this has been a super horrible time. How did you fare?
Well, very good question. I love to read. I also love to go to the Huntington Gardens. And I love to sing with my colleagues via Zoom, of course. Did singing duets, quartets, trios, sextets. And quite frankly, that's how I kept my sanity. Excuse me, that's how I'm keeping my sanity, because this pandemic is not over just yet. So even though I want it to be, I can't wait to use past tense, but not yet. But that's basically what I did to keep my sanity. And where did I hunker down? Basically at home, at church, basically at home, because everything in the early stages of the pandemic, everything was closed, as you know, and things are just starting to open up. But it has been a very difficult year, psychologically and emotionally. But the music is wonderful, and of course, doing radio interviews certainly helped lift the spirits. Yeah, I would say.
So is home Los Angeles for you now?
It is. Yes, I this is now my base. Having been privileged to sing season after season with Los Angeles Opera. Yes, this is my home. I have 3 grown kids, 2 of which live here, and so yeah.
Oh, well, wonderful. We're so happy that you're here, and we look forward to having you challenge Greg Federley for that most performances.
Aha!
Very cool.
That's going to be quite.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody will ever beat him, but
No.
we'll see. He deserves it. Azra, where is home for you? Where are you right now?
I'm in LA right now. I was too scared to go to Montreal and get my parents sick, so I just stayed here. Yeah.
How have you kept alive with your art during that time?
Lighting design wise, very poorly until recently, where I've gotten to do a few of the LA Opera Connects things. I had nothing, absolutely nothing. So what I've done is I signed up for classes at LACC and ELAC through Zoom. And I've been reaching back to my old loves of drawing and painting and learning like illustration and graphic design and all those fun things.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Hopefully that could be like maybe a side gig, because if this ever happens again, I'll probably need a side gig.
That's so true. Jens, how about you? Abdiel, what have you done during this pandemic that has kept your art alive, or how have you survived as an artist during this period?
I'm just gonna say in the beginning, it was so rough. It was, it blindsided all of us. And all of a sudden, one day we're working, all of a sudden the whole year is canceled. And I got super depressed, like for about 3-4 months. I just didn't even want to get out of bed. I was home. But I actually luckily Todd, Patrick, and myself have a church job that we do. And luckily they went virtual. So we started doing a virtual choir every week. And I started writing on the wall around April. So I invested in a home studio and buying things to like record at home. So I don't know if you can see, I've like soundproofed my entire room here. I have,
Wow.
I have like a great setup that I spent so much money on that I didn't have. But it's a good investment because I was able to record for church mainly, and also for whatever things happen, because studios weren't working anymore. So you had to record from home. You had to record remotely. And it's not a lot of work that came from that, but I've been able to sing in at least like 2 movies during COVID, a couple TV shows, a video game, and different things here and there that pop up. Independent projects like the musical that we sang on, Susanna, you and I. Remember that read through for what's her name?
White Rose is
Yes.
the title. I can't think of her name. I know her so well. This is awful. I can tell you what.
Jennifer Rosenfeld?
Yes. I sang the Old Maid and the Thief duet for her when she was like 14 years old.
Wow.
And I was not. I was truly the old maid. It was so fun. Wasn't that?
Yeah, we were like workshop, sorry, like that. And Todd and I actually did one with Wayne Newton. No, what's his name again? Oh,
Wayne Shorter.
Wayne Shorter. Yeah, he's writing an opera, so he wanted to workshop it, and we did another like virtual workshop. And yeah, so it's just been a lot of virtual at home recording, which is never as good as it is live, because you don't have that sense that you're singing with somebody, that you're connecting with somebody, that you're giving of yourself to an audience, that you can feel the reception. So you just have to like envision yourself like if you're doing it live with other people. And that's what's gotten me through.
Well, Todd, I'll ask you right now. I just want to take my hat off to all of you, because that creative fire leads you somewhere. And if it leads you to expanding your books, to doing duets with your friends, to going back to figuring out another art form that you love, that you want to continue loving, because being with high school students via Zoom it's been really interesting. And the way we survived is we called it the wellness warm-ups. And we made everybody stand up, which was great, and do the 16 count shakedown. And then they all had to run outside and take a deep breath and then run back in and tag team each other to tell us 3 things they saw. And then we vocal warmed up. And poor Chris Hunter, because he had to warm up on Zoom. So he's the one who warmed up while we just sort of sang, and many of the kids confess that they just mouthed the words. They karaoke'd vocalies. They're so smart. Todd, how did you survive? What did you do that made you creative?
I mean, as you can see, I've got a bunch of tech stuff. But I sort of lean into the tech because growing up, I was a video game guy, and I always have loved computers and tech, and so I just sort of tried to block out the bad and lean into the tech. And I had bought a rig to record on a while back because of because a lot of us, we had been involved enough with movies that we were submitting some stuff from home. So I had a nice mic, I had a nice, like back shield, but I basically did very similar to what Abdiel has done, but in a smaller space. We have a small walk-in closet right here. And so basically treated from floor to ceiling, the entire walk-in closet, have a rack for, like a stand for an iPad, a stand for, multiple mics, a remote. It's a remote setup, so I don't have any fan noise or anything. So I can really record the recordings of the stems for the voice that we would need for like virtual choir, things like that. So I really got into that and leaned in, and also just wanted to know then more about mixing and audio production and also video production. So I really leaned into learning how to edit and mix audio and edit and mix video. And so as a result, I started my own YouTube station, and I actually started my own collaboration thing with, like, my first choice was Abdiel, and he said yes. And we did one of Sean Kirchner's piece, and we got Sean to play. And so I took all the files and all the videos and mixed them. And we have it's a really lovely music video. And we mixed it with, Abdiel called me after. He said, I feel like this needs, this is lovely, but it needs purpose. It needs drive. It needs guts to it. And I agreed, and I just didn't know. And he had this amazing idea about really talking about what was happening in the world today. And so it was at the time that Black Lives Matter was really, really having a needed awareness. And so we took a lot of stock footage and footage from different people, and we put that into a lovely slideshow, and it really kind of went along with the words that we were singing. And so it felt fairly organic and And then I did a couple others. I just released one recently. It was actually to Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb, but it kind of does highlight how the artists are just kind of numb, how we feel sort of numb and out of the theater and don't really know what's happening. And there was that vibe to it. So I've had a lot of fun and tried to stay creative. I was able to engineer a couple virtual choirs myself from like back in Connecticut, and just tried to side hustle, as Azra said, tried to side hustle as many like gigs as I could. And it paid for my equipment, which is great. I bought a new computer and paid for a little bit on the side, which was great, and also kept me very busy. But I've been able to do video editing at the university that I teach at, been able to release some stuff.
Which university is that?
University of Laverne. And so I'm artist in residence there. We were supposed to do recitals, but I'm just trying to put out as many things and cross post them, so that we can kind of like, hey, faculty recitals coming up, this is what we're going to be doing. So,
wonderful.
That's really what I've been just trying to do to pass the time. And it was nice to get to, it's funny because Ab talks about not having the connection, and I had a weird experience at the beginning that I think drew me into tech. And I think it's credit to LAO Connects, because they asked me to join them on a virtual recital, and I was able to see the panel or see all the squares as I was singing, and I left them up. I didn't like look at myself. I left them all up so I could see the reactions coming from people's faces as I sang. And that drew me into a different, like I realized that we could still do what we do as artists and be effective and still tug on the same heartstrings by telling stories musically like we like to do, and still have this intimacy even through a lens that I didn't think was even possible. So it's a huge credit to LAO Connects. It's a huge credit to anybody that's embracing tech right now and realizing that we all are a part of this tech thing. We all carry these things around with us every day. If you use them for something of beauty and of artistic, stride forward, I think we're in a good place, especially when we're in a pandemic and we can't stand on a stage. We're still able to connect and communicate. So
That's so good.
Yeah. So it was great. Yeah.
Oh, that is, I don't mean to cut you off, but that
No,
is
it's fine.
exactly, we just got a question, and it's just exactly in this vein. And I'd love to include you all, because someone has just asked us, a student wants to know, how do you know, when did you know that art was right for you, that going into music was right? And this will have to be a quick little round because we are running out of time, and I have one more question to ask you after this. So if you could, Todd, just wrap up a little bit what you were saying right now. It's a creative mind that you are nurturing, but how did you personally know that music was going to be the way to go? Could it have been anything else? Could you have been a video developer? Could you have been a cameraman and been happy?
I don't know if I could have been happy. I think music being part of my life is a necessity for me. I knew that it would be. I'm a ham on stage, so performing arts was it for me. Obviously, you see, I'm like up here finding my light all the time, but that's the deal. Like I love it. I love being on stage. I'm a stage animal. I love being there. It's where I feel more at home than sometimes in my own home. So for me, I knew it would be something like that, and that I wasn't very good at a lot of other things. Like when it came to like science and that kind of stuff, like it's got to be music or creative arts. So.
Well, I hope we get a chance to hear you sing Jean Valjean someday. That to me would be amazing for you. How about you? How did you find out?
I didn't. Basically, I was going to be an optometrist, and I started taking voice lessons just to like boost up my GPA because it was an easy A. So I was like, I'll take voice lessons. And they assigned me my first operatic aria. They thought I was a bass, so they assigned me the catalog aria from Don Giovanni. And after I sang through it, I fell in love with opera. I switched my major to music. My parents cried because they were like, how are you going to make money? But I'm making way more money than they ever did. So basically, follow your dream. If you like it, do it.
Y también hablas español, ¿verdad?
Sí, nací en Puerto Rico. Ahí mudamos aquí cuando tenía como 10 años, pero todavía hablo mucho español con mi mamá, con mi familia que vive aquí en Florida, en Puerto Rico, en Cuba.
It's not a requirement, but if you have another language underneath your belt, that's also a really awesome way to go in a direction. Azra, how about you? How did you know? You obviously do so many things, but they're all so artistic and creative.
I mean, I don't remember a time in my life since I was a little child. I always wanted to be an artist of some kind. Like it's just always been there. Drawing all the time. But in high school, we did theater. And I went to an art school. We did a little bit of everything.
Okay,
Sang
which
in
art
choir.
school? Which art school?
It's called FACE, Fine Arts Core Education. It's an elementary and high school put together in Montreal. It's a weird school. Yeah, so I, got into theater then and tried to get away from it. I went to college for creative arts. Like they had no theater there. And somehow a bunch of us who like loved theater got together and put on a play anyway. So at that point I knew like, okay, I'm going to be a theater designer.
Oh, wow. And Patrick, you've already told us a little bit, but there's a moment when you say, I can do this for the rest of my life. And you obviously have gone there. You have a family. How did that light bulb go off for you?
Well, I can tell you right now, it was one Saturday afternoon when I was goofing around at home in Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from. And I like to be very succinct in terms of when and how it all started. The great baritone Leonard Warren was singing on the radio every Saturday. It was called Delta's World of Opera. This is going back some years. And he sang an aria from Andrea Chenier called Nemico della Patria. When I heard that, I had never heard anything so great in my life. And at that point, I said, you know what? I want to do this. I've got to do this. I love this. And well, music speaks to the soul, and it's healing. And at that, that's how I just knew that this definitely is for me. It's something that I truly love. And I would say to the young people, if it feels right, it's right. If it feels good, then by all means pursue it. Hopefully that was
it's exactly what we wanted to hear. You all are so amazing. I have another question from the audience. And who was the hurt man in Billy Budd? Or who was outside? Who sang the offstage voice? That's what they're asking. The question is, how are you able to have the audience hear you if you're off stage?
So I did have that small little bit role for Billy Budd, and I'm off stage, and basically they placed me as close to the stage without being able to be seen from the audience for that particular one. But Todd actually had the biggest bit role you've ever heard from backstage for Eugene Onegin. And it was not amplified, and he was just behind it. And he just sang like almost 2 full verses of something so loud and beautiful that you could hear it all through the house. But yeah, sometimes they do amplify, but sometimes if they don't have to, they don't have to.
Oh my gosh.
And that was behind a wall for Onegin, so that was pretty impressive.
Oh, it's so great. Well, as we wrap up, because this is supposed to feature something to look for in Billy Budd, and each one of you, even you, Azra, who did not work on this Billy Budd, correct?
I was the assistant lighting designer.
Still fantastic. If you wrap up, let's start with Todd, if you don't mind. Give us something that our students should look for.
There is a moment where you're going to hear all the men saying, "This is the moment we've been waiting for." And it's like, it's just the moment everyone needs to be waiting for in this show, because we talked about the set and how majestic it is. If you look at the pictures, the set just opens up like Pac-Man with a level in between. And it's a 3-level set, and it's all the entire cast like on the front, like as if they're standing over you, it feels. And there's just something about it that is so powerful and so magical. It's everybody singing at once. It is kind of a chorus thing, but there are all these little interjections by the principals and everything. There's this clarity to this like mess that is so perfect. And it's Benjamin Britten's writing, and that's what you have to appreciate in that moment. And the set design and the majesticness of that moment, to me, that was like the all-time, that was the GOAT. That was the all-time moment of the whole
where
thing,
is that? Where does that happen in the
It's
opera?
Act 2, I believe.
Okay.
I believe it's Act 2. It's like it's sort of at the climax of when all the men on deck are getting ready basically for battle, and it's like it's leading up to that.
That's Azra. Is there any lighting moment like this? For those of you who don't know the story, number one, it is presented in English, but we always have at LA Opera super titles so that you can see exactly what every person is singing and follow the story perfectly because of the super titles. So you will be able to do that. But is there any lighting moment? Is there any moment that it takes your breath away?
I think probably the same moment that Todd was just talking about, because you also have, great big lighting happening, and you have to deal with the lighting above and below as the stage moves, the weird angles and all that stuff. It's probably more complicated to cue that properly. And in general, there's there's a few great moments where the guys, like, you have someone up on the masthead or guys climbing up the ropes and the light streaks across them and they look super cool.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Patrick, what is your fondest memory of doing this role, and what should our students listen for when they hear you sing?
Well, I would, the music is glorious all around. The male voices coming together is nothing short of just absolutely just sensational. I would say pay close attention to oh heave, away heave. You'll hear some of the most beautiful writing for the tenors and the basses that, in my opinion, can be heard anywhere on a stage. And listen to Lieutenant Ratcliffe come in with that very first proclamation of the 3 captives that have been brought to the Indomitable.
Do you remember what you say? Can you just speak the words for us? Or
Oh
sing?
boy, as I get older, I have to admit sometimes my memory wanes a little bit. But let's see, to report from let's see. Oh my gosh, this is hard. I'd have to have the
I'm
story.
sorry, I know it is.
To report the 3 men who have been captured, and they are here. And the sailing master says, very good, Mr. Ratcliffe."
Oh, that's so good. So we'll know it's you. And that's in Act 1, correct?
That is Act 1. That is correct. Yes.
Beautiful. Abdiel, just same question, but with the added salt and pepper. This is almost all men except for one pants roll. So what is your favorite moment? Because you are singing with how many men on stage, and that the beauty of that timbre of voice. What's that like?
It's surreal because this is one of the largest male choruses that there is in opera. And there's so many different parts. Like Todd said, that one part of the show is just, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because it's so good. But just the sonority of like 50, 60 men just singing as loud as they can or as soft and beautifully as they can. It's just, it's so beautiful. I think one of my favorite parts is Billy Budd's last aria, where he's been sentenced to death and he's tied up down in the bottom.
Wait, is this a spoiler? Is this a spoiler? We have to know. We have to know. Something happens to Billy, everybody.
Happens, and he is sentenced to death. We don't know if he dies or not, but he sings the most beautiful aria that every time I sing that aria, I have to hold back tears because it's just so simple, beautiful, poignant. And it's called "Look Through the Port Shines the Moon, Comes the Moonshine Astray." Yeah. And every time I hear that, I just start welling up because it's so beautifully written and it's just so beautifully done.
And was this conducted by Maestro Conlon?
It was. It was.
He loves this music so much. I want to thank you all. We're approaching our 4:00 hour, and I do have one last question for each of you. And I'm just gonna pass it once around. And if you could tell me, let's start with Patrick. what role in the future are you just waiting? Because I have one in my brain, but I'd love to know. What is the role that you are waiting to sink your teeth into?
Well, that's easy for me. That would be King Philip from Don Carlo. I'm a
Beautiful.
Verdi, huge Verdi fan.
Oh,
Yes.
you are such a Verdi guy. Azra, what is a role that you would love to do?
It would be cool to design one of the main stage operas. That would be neat.
And do you have an opera in your heart that comes to mind?
Oh boy. I really do like Britain, probably any of Britain's operas.
I'm right there with you. So lovely. Abdiel, how about you?
I saw an opera called The Crucible at USC, like when I was first starting to sing opera, and it hit me so hard. The story, the music was amazing. So I think John Proctor is one of my dream roles.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Todd?
Cavaradossi in Tosca has always been my like go. I like that's just if I could ever sing that, it just you know, it's awesome. It's it's been one of my favorite operas for many years, and the music just has always spoken to me, and I love it. So yeah.
Well, I will tell that is beautiful. Each one of you. I have several that I still would like to do because when you're a lyric mezzo, you do a lot of the duchesses and queens, but then you end up doing everybody's mother or which I don't mind. But I would love to sing. I've done a regional production of Dead Man Walking. I'd love to do Mrs. de Rocher again because it is such a poignant thing. And I love that contemporary music is starting to have no generationalism about it. And they let older people sing older parts. And I love that. So I want to thank each one of you. I'd like to thank Andrea and Adam. Can you come back on? Is there anything we missed? Are there any other questions?
I think that's it. I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been so educational and so helpful for us to understand what it takes to be an artist. And this is just great. So I really appreciate you all, and to our audience who's watching, thank you. And of course, if you have questions, you can always send them to me. And I'd be happy to help try to facilitate them being answered. You can send them to afuentes, AFUENTES at laopera.org, and I'd be happy to try to get your questions answered for you.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Thank you so much for writing in the comments. And if you feel as though you would like to try it out, we had one question about how do I know if I want to be a singer? LA Opera Connects has the community program where you can stand up and sing with opera singers, and Maestro Colin himself will conduct you. So Andrea or Adam, can you give us some information on how they can find out more online about LA Opera Connects?
We have two really good upcoming programs that actually three. And I'm going to talk about one and a half really quick, and then I'll throw it to Adam. The first one, and I would love everybody here to know about it, including our panelists, it is the Russell Thomas Youth Artist Training Academy, which is coming up. We're going to extend the deadline. Nobody knows this, so it's just you. We're extending the deadline to June 5th. And it is basically, if you want to have voice lessons, if you want to attend, I'm sorry, I've got like a plane going by, like studio classes, if you need language courses, we know that of course sometimes those things are cost prohibitive. And so this is a training program for students who maybe wouldn't ordinarily have access to that. And you can find out more about that on our website. I'll also send it out to the people who are in attendance today. So go ahead and check that out. The other thing is Opera Camp, which I'll let Adam talk about, and Community Opera, which I'll let Adam talk about as well, because those are the programs that Adam runs.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm going to put some links in the chat here, and I'm going to speak them for the sake of the recording. So if you're interested in our Community Opera for 2022, this is going to be a new world premiere commission by composer and librettist Carla Lucero. We are doing she's writing an opera called The Three Women of Jerusalem, Las Tres Mujeres de Jerusalén. And it will be the first Spanish language opera and the first by a woman composer to be premiered at the cathedral. And this is a wonderful program where we basically say, come and perform with us. You don't have to have a background as a singer. And we also use actors and dancers in our ensemble. So all of that information is at laopera.org/communityopera. We will also have a virtual choir this year for the first time. We are going to be inviting folks from all over the world to submit things to us. So there's more information about that.
Adam, hang
And
on.
then-
I want to add to
Sure.
that because this is so awesome. I'm on the education committee. There are 1,000 slots for groups.
Absolutely.
So if you have a group and want to submit, it counts as one. So we already submitted from Loxa, so you only have 999 left. So, but please continue. I just want our listeners, if you have a choir at your school, they'll explain it all to you. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, thank you for plugging that. And then the last thing really quickly, I know we're coming up on showtime, our annual summer opera camp. We have a wonderful virtual experience that we're offering this year, laopera.org/opera camp. And that's for students who are ages 9 through 17. We will focus on both working on music, working on dramatic expression, and of course, in this time of virtual experiences, how can you utilize technology to deliver artistic experiences virtually?
Thank you
So we hope to see you at all of those things.
It's almost the orchestra's tuning right now. So everybody get ready for Billy Budd. Thank you all. Such a joy to speak to you. You're all amazing artists. Thank you to our staff here from LA Opera Connects. And hasta luego todos.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.